He's the global authority in neuroscience. As an early pioneer of CT and PET imaging techniques, Professor Zang-hee Cho is one of the world's leading scholars in this field, being praised as one worthy of receiving the Nobel Prize. On Heart to Heart, we sit down with Professor Zang-hee Cho, who still wholly devotes himself to research activities and to nurturing the future generation. Joining us today is internationally renowned neuroscientist Zang-hee Cho, Professor Zang-hee Cho, who is constantly challenging the boundaries of science. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. Would you like to say hello to our viewers that are watching?
Well, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here today. I will do my best to answer what you ask.
Thank you very much once again for joining us. I am so excited. I've got so many questions for you. So first of all, I introduced you as a neuroscientist. Now, neuroscience, a lot of people believe that it is the study of the brain and the nervous system, but it's largely also the study of our behavior. But still, it's complicated to understand the true definition of neuroscience. So could you please help us understand what neuroscience is?
I think you're right in some sense. It's very complicated because, in a sense, neuroscience encompasses the behavioral science as well because, after all, behavior is controlled by the brain.
Right.
Yeah, so in a sense, the psychology, psychiatry, all those are also belong to neuroscience in the biggest sense. Yeah.
I see. So many people to think of neuroscience or neuroengineering as a very difficult subject, a subject that's very difficult to approach. But I was surprised to learn that there actually are so many of our everyday life elements that are actually connected to or related to neuroscience. Now, we have some examples. One example for this one, so I'd like you to take a look at the screen. A photo that a woman had actually posted up. And she was asking people to, tell her whether it was A color or a B color, because people were telling different stories. What colors do you see in this dress? Okay. Among the people that debated online, the majority said that the dress was white and gold, and the others said that the dress was blue and black. I see neither of these colors. What colors do you see, Professor?
For me, it's simple. It's more dark brownish with the white mixed, but the white one is look like a little bit bluish.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
So not strong.
Okay, because as I mentioned, I don't see neither white and gold. I definitely do not see blue and black. So could you please tell us about this optical illusion? What's happening here?
I think it's a visual thing. That's what most study the subject in neuroscience. You have the eyes, then you have the track, deliver that information to the brain, what is called brain, and brain analyze that. Then analyzing capacities and what abilities, so to say, have different function, slightly different function, not very many. Most of the people agree that blue is blue and red is red and so forth.
Yeah.
But some has a more stronger and less. That's how we see it. I said white one is more bluish, but you say more white. So there are some differences. But that's individual has different training. All historically we accumulated. Your computer, my computer is slightly different.
Right.
The perception and cognition are slightly different.
I thought it was very interesting. I was surprised. I was like, how can you see blue and black in this? But okay, now I understand about this optical illusion. Now, have you heard of the Space Out competition? I mean, it's pretty popular currently in Korea.
아무것도 하지 않기. 한강공원에서는 이른바 멍 때리기 최고를 뽑는 이색 대회도 열렸습니다. 정해진 시간은 90분. 그 이야기를 나누는 것은 물론 휴대전화를 보거나 졸아도 안 됩니다.
I think what you are talking is a resting state. Yeah, sometimes called default mode. So when you are not trying to think anything, but you can't really do that. It's impossible. Many of the brain study, we do default mode study or resting state study. So you see the different brain area when you don't think anything. That's impossible. But when you try not to think anything, then certain area is constantly light up, and certain area is not. I compare in a simple way. When in the evening we all sleep, but police stations, fire station, they wake up. So something of that nature, so that certain area of the brain is ready to do something.
I was actually doing some research on neuroscience, or I was actually looking up neuroscience as I knew you would be on the show. And I came across some websites and articles on improving the health of the brain. So how can we actually make our brain become younger? Are there any exercises that we could do to, I guess, improve our brain's functions or brain's health?
Yes, I think if you train your brain get another way of saying it's younger. It's more stronger, it's more capable. To do that, there are many ways. Actually, you read a book, for instance, but you work hard and you think and all those things. That is, in a sense, you indirectly induce more blood to your brain.
Oh, I see.
So when you exercise, for instance, our heart delivers about 20% of our blood to the brain, while the brain is only about 2%. What that means is that brain is over benefited in some sense, 10 times more than other organs. So when you exercise, in another way of saying is that actually we are working for brain. You exercise for the brain.
You're exercising for the
brain.
So you don't necessarily have to focus on using your brain by, let's say, solving puzzles necessarily, but you could think,
I think it's important thing is that use your brain by necessity. For instance, you drive, for instance. You drive, every minute you are working hard to survive. In some your competitions, another car is coming and so on. That's desperate, demanding situation. That's very important.
I see. All right.
So actually, we have to make the people, when they get older, you have to make the people to work in the real work, not playing with the chest and that kind of thing, but real work. How to do that? That's a social problem, a national problem. United States, for instance, university professor is no retirement. They work until they die.
Oh, that's
as much as they want.
Right, but there is that
Here in Korea, for instance, 65. So when they retire 65, they do nothing, many of them. They're unable to do because they can't really shift the functions to certainly other field. Those are very bad situations.
I see.
Yeah, they're bad for that particular person because their brain is stopped in some sense.
Right. Now, I'd like to ask questions regarding your personal life. So I came across 3 very interesting episodes that shifted your life's trajectory. So I'd like for you to take a look at the screen. We have prepared something.
In the middle of the college, third grade, I went to the army. I was drafted to the Korean army.
Yes.
And I came back, then I thought I should study. So I studied and I continued at the graduate school here. After I graduated, at that time in Korea, we couldn't get a job.
Oh, it was hard to find a job even after graduating
Even
grad
after you
school.
graduate, you couldn't get a job. So I was sort of looking for going abroad for the study. But of course, I didn't have money, and we didn't have money. It was hard to get the scholarship and all those things. But one of my friends told me that there is a scholarship, training from government through the International Atomic Energy Agency scholarship. You could apply that. So I went there to get the application form.
Yes.
But the exam was actually going on.
It was exam day.
Yes.
And you went to get the application
It was
form.
my mistake, and they informed me some wrong way. But anyway, I was, disappointed. So I said, "Thank you very much." I was leaving, and examiner said, "Wait a minute, stop it. Now you still have a chance. You could take exam." So I'm 15 minutes late, and he said, "Doesn't matter, we'll give you a pencil." So I took an exam, and I passed somehow. That's why I went to Sweden to get the training for the Atomic Energy Agency, through the Atomic Energy Agency. So that was my kind of professional career.
Oh, wow. What would have happened if he hadn't, stopped you and lent you that pencil to actually, or give you the opportunity to take the exam?
Nobody knows. I could be the
knows.
high school mathematics teacher. Something of that nature. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and lastly, we've got another. Okay, let's take a look at the screen.
After my training in Sweden, I was purely in the nuclear physics laboratory, almost 10 years. And then one of my friends asked me to come to UCLA as a faculty, associate professor. And I thought maybe that's a good idea to spend 1 year and see what's going on there. So I went to UCLA in 1972. Quarter start from September. So I arrived on September 1st, and I went to the laboratory. And after 15 years, there was a seminar, when invited talk from radiology department. The chair said, very interesting thing came up. He was just been to the conference and called the CT. That time they didn't call CT, CTAT.
CTAT.
Yeah. So anyway, now we call CT. He said he don't know the physics very well, mathematics and all those things, but this is really fascinating. First time human being able to see alive the inside the human brain.
Yes.
That was really fantastic thing. But he said it's all secret. So you physicists, maybe you can solve the problem. But my colleague was something like 15. Nobody said anything. But I thought that's very interesting. And I just arrived there. So I thought, no problem, because I was familiar with the computer simulations and all those things. And I went home. I regretted very much, because I should rather, shut my mouth rather than say, if I couldn't do it,
yes,
I'd be a joke. But anyway, that was a really good start. Sometimes you have to be brave.
Yes.
And so I committed. I started working. About Christmas, I began to get some computer simulated result. And I began to go out and give a seminar to the other people. They were all fascinated to see that. To see three-dimensionally reconstruct, mathematical reconstruct image. That was really my sort of second professional career started here. I'm continuing those things now still.
So we did mention how it was called CTAT, of course, CT now. So through all of your hard work, you eventually became the only scientist in the world to develop and refine CT, also MRI and PET, which is an abbreviation for position emission tomography, is that right?
Yes, positron.
Positron.
It becomes an old man. So that came 72. This CT basic thing was mathematics with a computer. So it was not like taking picture of the brain, but take a data and processed by computer together with the mathematics, knowing that mathematics is the basic things.
Yes.
Once you know that, you could do PET scanner, and MRI, and all those things. So after that, right after that, combining my background of nuclear physics, I developed the PET scanner. Is one of the first. But at that time, the PET scanner was not very popular somehow. And that time, I was commuting Korea and U.S. And that time, I moved to Columbia University after UCLA, 8 years. Then I thought maybe MRI would be interesting because the same principle, but it's just different physics, magnetic resonance rather than X-rays or PET. So we started. I started MR in '79 or '80, and luckily, you have to be lucky. Luckily, '82, I got first image of MR.
Oh.
That is one of the few first image in the world. Korean government was very excited. Say, oh, we'll give you, money as much as you want. Please do continue that research. So I got $600,000 to continue that MR. So I more advanced the system. We call 2 Tesla magnet. Now most of the hospital now currently use 1.5 T, or some big hospital use 3 T. Tesla means, the Tesla car.
Yes, yes.
It's like a magnetic field. 1 Tesla is a big field. It's like 100,000 times a stronger magnetic field than Earth natural magnetic. So it kind of sounds very dangerous,
yes,
but
yes.
It's safe. So I made the 2 Tesla with my students, and it's become really another success. And Seoul National University wants to have the first unit. So work together with the Gold Star, the company, LG now. We produce a commercial system, and we deliver the first unit to Seoul National University. That was a really interesting beginning of the real application to the medical science of this MR. And Seoul National University liked it very much. We were very interested, and that supported our research further. So we continued to test research until '97.
Wow.
Yeah.
All of what you said, it sounds so amazing. It even sounds almost impossible. I'm so amazed how you
Yes,
did
you have
everything.
to be lucky. Yes, that's important. Yeah.
No, I'm sure. I mean, you have to be skilled
Yeah.
and have the ability. You
You
have to be able to do it.
Yeah,
It's not all about luck.
Yeah.
Now, I would also like to ask about your most current or most recent research focus. What are you mainly focusing on now?
In 2005, after I finished 2 test MRI in KAIST, the Korea Advanced Institute of Science, I went completely back to the U.S., University of California. And one day, some messenger came from Gachon University,
Yes.
Kil Hospital, Dr. Lee. She's a great woman. Was asking whether we can do something great in Korea. We'll provide all the money, as much as 600 million won. So that's about $50 million.
$50 million.
$50 million. So that's huge money. $50 million project, and they will provide us a world leading imaging center working for the brain. So I agreed. I worked for 10 years with that. There we worked with 7 Tesla. That's about
7.
Yeah, 4 times bigger than 2 Tesla I made. The MR is stronger than magnet. You have the better and high sensitivity images. So it was great to have. And 10 years was a very successful 21st century research for me, for my personally. And we made many new things and recognized worldwide as one of the leading center.
Yes, and that's why people are saying that you are worthy of receiving the Nobel Prize for your contributions in science. I mean, just listening to a part of all of your many, many stories. So what do you think about what people are saying about the, you know, you being worthy of the Nobel Prize?
I think Nobel Prize is different things. If you go to the United States, there are 50,000 U.S. National Academy member of National Academy of Science, Medicine, Engineering, and Basic Science. All those people kind of deserve, you know, one day they could get the Nobel Prize, but only 1 or 2 every year. So it's a probability. Chance is very small. So you have to be very lucky to get it.
Oh, you seem to be a very lucky
but
individual.
I love to see these young people in Korea, not me. Most of the Nobel Prize, you work today, you will get something like 30, 40 years later.
I see.
So, but if you don't do it now here, we don't get to 40 years later or 30 years later. But I don't see that those things happening in Korea. That's what I worry most. Universities and research labs. So I like to see kind of big science, we call big science, and where the young people engage, work, something which nobody has it. So that from there we have a chance to get 1 or 2 Nobel Prize. After 30, 40 years, I will not be there anymore. But it's not for me, but for the younger people. But someone has to start with that kind of things. And Korean government, I really sincerely hope that they will put something of that nature at the university level, so that all young people have a chance to work with that kind of things.
Yes.
For instance, we are about 100 years later than Japan. Japan started Tokyo University in 1850. Our university started in 1950 almost, so 100 years. But it is lucky then, it's really something to be proud that we came this far. But to continue that, we have to really invest in more for our brain, university. Not this brain, but university.
I see.
So that university has to be competitive worldwide. There we have science, technologies, economies, all top brain. Because nowadays we are not working alone. We are fighting with the MIT and Harvard and Oxford. Unless we do something proper, right, we cannot compete. So that's a very important point there. I like the government to know why they have to invest more money to the university, so that we have to raise the young people who could work for the future.
Yes.
For instance, China selected 100 universities, entire China, and they start supporting extensively for 100 universities. That equal to 5 universities in Korea, because 20 to 1.
100, yes.
So I think we should have something of a similar policy, so that our university really leading Korea, and compete with internationally, worldwide.
We hope to see that happening very, very soon.
I like to see that.
Yes, the younger generation is our future. We hope that you continue to inspire young scientists, and that you continue your activities, research activities, for the further development of science, not only in Korea, but all across the globe.
Yes, thank you very much
for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.